I woke up inside the body of a billionaire villain. But before I could enjoy a single cent, the villain system hit me with the truth. System scan, host's fate. You will keep protecting your worthless son, become the protagonist's stepping stone, and die miserably under an overpass. I looked toward the hospital bed. My idiot son was still yelling, "My dad is Qin Tian," so I slapped him twice in front of everyone. You just humiliated the entire Qin family. Plot changed. Rebellious son punished. Reward, God-tier poison medicine. A reward for beating sense into him? Then I stared at my son with burning excitement. Just minutes earlier, I had transmigrated here. After I understood the situation, the driver said softly, "Boss, we've arrived at Shanghai Hospital." I looked up and saw the driver, Li Jun, with a blue line of text floating over his head. Loyalty, 90%. Damn. At least someone here was reliable. In the original story, Li Jun had died taking a bullet for him. 4 men in black suits stood outside in a row, their faces fierce. Passers-by stared and whispered, "That's President Qin of the Qin Group. He's even more imposing in person." I heard his son was beaten and hospitalized. He must be here to visit him. Expressionless. I walked through the crowds admiring, and fearful gazes toward the VIP ward. The moment I reached the door, I heard pig-like screams from inside. "I'm dying from the pain. I'll have my dad fire your whole family. Do you know who my father is? Everyone in Choming City answers to him. Touch one hair on my head, and you'll never survive in this city." My temple throbbed outside the door. This idiot again. The jinx from the novel. Born to ruin his own father. I shoved the door open and entered. Qin Shiji changed his expression when he saw me. His face covered in tears and snot. "Dad, you have to avenge me. That hick broke my leg. I want him chopped up and fed to dogs." Looking at his hopeless face, and thinking how I would one day lose everything and die because of him, rage surged through me. Under the stunned gazes of the doctors and guards, I rushed forward and slapped Qin Shiji hard across the face. "Why are you wailing? You've disgraced the entire Qin family." I spoke coldly, each word striking like shards of ice. Qin Shiji clutched his face, his eyes wide. "Dad, why you hit me? A useless brat like you deserves it." I backhanded him again. "Shout one more time, and I'll break your other leg myself." Ding. You slapped the prodigal son. Main plot successfully altered. Villain points plus 300. Predetermined fate broken for the first time. Starter reward, God-tier poison medicine. System alerts flashed before me. Before I could react, a flood of information entered my mind. God-tier poison medicine was absurdly powerful. It contained hundreds of deadly poison formulas, all colorless, odorless, and undetectable. I opened the system panel, and found that aside from my charm, every stat was below average for a man. A charm score of 500 seemed perfectly fair. But why was my luck only 100? The system immediately replied, "Because of the chosen protagonist. Your luck will slowly be drained by him. Luck cannot be seen or touched, but it determines victory or defeat." System. What can villain points actually do? I asked silently. The host may exchange them for real-world resources, or spend 1,000 points on one draw to obtain enhanced skills or rare items. My eyes lit up. There really was a shop button. I opened it. The most prominent option was cash exchange. 1 point equals 100,000 Dragon Nation currency. There were also equity exchanges. 1,000 points for 1% of Penguin Corporation. Seeing that rate, my heart began racing. Those 2 slaps just now. Those 2 slaps had earned me over 30 million. I felt the vast knowledge filling my mind, then looked at my terrified idiot son. A cold smile curved my lips. Then I sat down on the ward sofa. "All right. Now tell me, what exactly happened?" Qin Shiji was baffled by his father's sudden calmness. What should I say? What else? Tell me what happened. If you don't explain everything clearly, how can I clean up your mess? Both born rich young masters. So why is this kid unbelievably stupid? After speaking, I glanced at Li Jun. He understood immediately. Seconds later, the doctor was sent out, and the door shut tightly. Seeing his father truly meant to back him, Qin Shiji perked up and began pouring out his grievances, exaggerating every detail without shame. 10 minutes later, my face was black as ink. The brat had harassed a girl on the street, and someone stopped him on the spot. Then a fight broke out. All his bodyguards were beaten down, and his own leg was kicked broken. A country boy who had only just entered the city beat professionally trained guards to a pulp, then casually broke the Qin heir's leg. There was no need to think hard. He was almost certainly the chosen protagonist. You have to seek justice for me, Qin Shiji said through gritted teeth. He broke my leg. That was a slap in your face. That guy is too strong. Ordinary people can't handle him. Why not hire a real killer? Shut up. I cut him off with a low growl. Since when do you tell me what to do? Hire an assassin. Have you lost your mind? The more he talked, the more absurd it became. My forehead throbbed with anger. Only a brainless fool like him could think of such a rotten idea. Anyone with sense would know. That would only feed the protagonist experience. It's the oldest cliché in the book. I took a deep breath and suppressed my anger. I'll handle this. You stay here and recover. Don't interfere. Thanks, Dad. Qin Shiji grinned. I waved a hand. Behave yourself for a while. If you pull anything behind my back, I'll personally break your other leg. Qin Shiji shrank back and agreed with an aggrieved look. Lium. Bring me the doctor in charge of this ward. I sat on the sofa and waited. Soon Li Jun returned with the attending doctor and 2 nurses. President Qin. You wanted to see me. The doctor's voice trembled, afraid one wrong word would cause trouble. I did not even raise my eyes, and simply said, treat him exactly as necessary. Don't indulge any ridiculous demands. The doctor nodded frantically, cold sweat covering his forehead. He never expected such a powerful, wealthy father to say something like that. That's all. Lium. Let's go. Wait, Dad. Sir. That woman. Seeing his father about to leave, Qin Shiji suddenly screamed. I turned around. He was pointing at the young nurse beside the doctor. I looked her over. She was just over 5'3", wearing a white nurse's uniform, with a mask over her face. Her brows curved delicately, and her face was small and pointed. Her skin was white as fresh milk. With looks like that, was she built from the heroine template? Your leg was broken because of her. My tone was calm, yet the pressure left everyone breathless. Yes, Dad. I'd recognize her even if she burned to ash. Qin Shiji ground his teeth in hatred. Tang Shui stood there and sighed softly. She had taken half a day off to shop, but ran into this idle rich brat who kept harassing her. If an outsider had not stepped in to stop him, she might not have escaped. Who knew the bastard whose leg was broken was actually this man's son? Even more unbelievably, this man was Qin Tian. Since she had already been called out, Tang Shui stopped hiding. Ah, what a coincidence. Meeting you here. Qin Shiji sneered. My dad is here now. None of you can get away. Why should I run? You were clearly the one who caused trouble. Tang Shui straightened her back, without backing down. So what if I caused trouble? He should not have meddled. Qin Shiji looked utterly disdainful. Tang Shui's face reddened with anger. Then you deserved that beating. Shut up. Haven't you embarrassed us enough? I shot Qin Shiji a cold glance, my voice extremely low. My son claimed he was beaten for failing to win a girl. But after reading countless urban power fantasy novels, I could guess the truth with my toes. I turned toward Tang Shui and softened my tone. Young lady, what is your name?
Tan Shui.
She grew nervous under my gaze and regretted answering at once. Why did he ask her name? Was he planning revenge? I lowered my eyes, slowly repeated her name, then rubbed between my brows. It's a decent name. Stop trembling. I know where to draw the line. As for today's mess, I understand it clearly. You did not cause it. I won't blame you. All right, enough.
Liyun.
Let's go. With my hands behind my back, I turned and left. Everyone in the ward stood frozen, not daring to make a sound. Qin Shiji ground his teeth behind me, silently cursing his father for being weak and showing no authority at all. Tang Shui's legs had been trembling moments ago, but now she stood stunned by my words. The infamous tyrant everyone feared had a father who was actually so reasonable. Or was he only pretending before settling the score later? Soon I reached the hospital entrance, opened the Rolls-Royce door and got inside. Once settled into the seat, I said to Old Li in front, Old Li, leave 2 men to watch Shiji closely. Don't let him lose his mind and cause more trouble. Also investigate the kid who threw the punches. And find out Tang Shui's family background. Look into everything. Li Jun paused, then nodded immediately. Understood, President Qin. I'll arrange it now. He pulled out his phone and made 2 quick calls. While he was busy, a cold voice suddenly rang in my ears.
Rebellious sont S rampage suppressed.
The plot has shifted. Villain points plus 100. Heroine Tang Shui's negative impression improved. Fate line slightly altered. Villain points plus 300. Recovered luck, 10 points. What the hell? I gained points just by saying a few words. I opened my personal status panel. Aside from the 10 extra luck points, everything else remained pathetically weak. System. Can these stats be raised? The system replied without emotion. Luck can only be stolen from the protagonist. Once your value reaches twice his, you may erase the target directly. Got it. What about the others? Such as physical fitness or charm. The host may exchange villain points for shop items and strengthen himself. My eyes lit up. I immediately opened the interface and browsed. 1000-year Lingji, 500 points. Foundation building pill, 1000 points. Every item was legendary and terrifyingly expensive. I held off on buying anything. The priority was saving 1000 points. 1 grand draw would be a better deal. President Qin. We're still investigating the man who attacked. But Tang Shui's background is already clear. That evening, in a private villa beneath Mount Li, Li Jun handed me a file with both hands. I took it and quickly read through. Money really could make anything happen. Tang Shui was only a medical intern, with a simple background. Yet I had assigned the task at noon, and the report was ready in 3 hours. After reading, I nodded slightly. It really is her. President Qin. Is something wrong with Tang Shui?
Liyun looked confused.
Nothing. You wouldn't understand even if I explained. I waved a hand. Go get some rest. I'll call if anything happens tonight. Li Jun bowed and withdrew, leaving me alone in the spacious living room. I collapsed onto the sofa and muttered. So she is one of the heroines. Urban power fantasies. Never have only one heroine. The file said Tang Shui came from a family of traditional doctors, and her grandfather was famous throughout Qiuming City. The male lead clearly followed the village miracle doctor route. The classic formula: emerge from the mountains, claim kinship or cancel an engagement, and save a beautiful woman along the way. No wonder the system gave me poison medicine. It was preparing me to fight a medical master. Interesting. The corner of my mouth rose. Changing her opinion alone earned 300 points. If I truly won her over. Meanwhile, Tang Shui had just finished work at Shanghai Hospital. Feeling completely drained. Xiao Lin, hurry and boil some water. Xiao Shui will be here soon. Inside the Tang family's clinic. The elderly physician Tang Dixuan sat upright. Tang Shui had just parked her car. When she heard her grandfather warmly greeting someone. Why was the old man being so polite today? Who exactly had come? Tang Shui slowed her steps and quietly slipped toward the room. The conversation inside reached her clearly. Please don't trouble yourself. I'm not in a hurry. It was a young man's voice, casual in tone, yet strangely familiar. Tang Shui's heart suddenly jumped. She rushed through the door. Two people sat in the living room. One was Tang Dixuan, renowned throughout Qiuming City. The other was a casually dressed young man, slouched bonelessly in a rosewood chair, with both hands behind his head. Xiao Shui, you're home. Come here. Let Grandpa introduce a friend. This is Lin Feng. He is... Before the old man could finish, their eyes had already met. It's you. Hey, girl. We really are destined to meet. Tang Shui looked astonished, while Lin Feng grinned carelessly. Tang Dixuan looked between them, completely confused. You two already know each other.
Tang Su grabt herbei.
And pulled her grandfather into a corner. Grandpa. Why is he here? She had not heard the introduction at all. Her eyes remained fixed on the young man, sprawled crookedly in the chair. The old man was bewildered. Xiao Lin is the child of my mentor's old friend. He came down the mountain on business, and will stay with us for a few days. There are problems everywhere. Tang Shui had no time to explain in detail, and quickly recounted everything from that morning. What? Did that really happen? Tang Dixuan's beard trembled with anger. This boy actually crippled the Qin heir's leg. Wasn't that far too reckless? I saw it myself. Cannot be false. Ask him if you don't believe me. Tang Shui pointed toward the chair. The old man looked nervously at Lin Feng. The young man did not even lift an eyelid, and spoke unhurriedly. No need to ask. I heard everything. That's right. Qin Shiji's leg was broken by me. What should we do now? Tang Dixuan's knees weakened, and he nearly fell. Xiao Lin. The Qin family is not to be trifled with. I'm afraid I cannot protect you. Perhaps you should leave Qiuming first, and hide until this passes. Run. Lin Feng chuckled.
Elder Tang.
You worry too much. He's only a spoiled brat who drinks, gambles, and chases women. No matter how powerful the Qin family is, they cannot touch me. If they dare come for me, I won't drag your family into it. His meaning could not have been clearer. In his eyes, the Qin family was not worth mentioning. He had come down the mountain, mainly to find his childhood betrothed fiancée. Why would he tuck his tail and flee over such a trivial matter? After hearing this, Tang Shui's mind was in turmoil. She did not know how capable Lin Feng was, only that this trouble had started because of her. If the Qin family followed the trail to their door, the Tang family would be their first target. At exactly 7 that evening, I stood in the Mount Li villa and sighed. Living alone in such a huge mansion felt like guarding a tomb. As I drifted in thought, my phone suddenly rang. President Qin. Li Jun's voice came through the phone. We found the man who hurt young master. Xiao Lu saw him at Tang Dixuan's clinic. He and the old man seemed very close. I understand. I answered calmly. Should Xiao Lu call more men and drag that kid back here?
Li Yun asked coldly.
No, absolutely not. I stopped him immediately. That man defeated trained bodyguards. He is no ordinary person. Sending more men would be useless. We absolutely cannot follow his script. He's not easy to handle. No number of men would help. Report him to the police immediately. What? Call the police.
Li Yun froze.
His mouth hanging open. Yes, call the police. I said calmly. We are law-abiding citizens. Someone broke my son's leg. Why shouldn't we report it? Despite all his questions, Li Jun hung up and carried out the order. Elsewhere, Chief Zhengyang froze upon hearing the news. He had no time to think, and immediately assembled his officers. Chief. What happened? Officer Lu Ruoshi looked heroic in her sharp uniform. Seeing her superior's grave expression, she instantly became alert. Something serious. Of course it's serious. Zhang sounded extremely anxious. You know Qin Tian, the chairman of Qin Group, of course. He's a model entrepreneur, a frequent face in police news. Everyone knows him. Exactly. His son's leg was broken this morning. We've identified the attacker. Take a team and arrest him. What? Something like that happened. I guarantee we'll complete the mission. Lu Ruoshi put away her file and immediately assigned the officers. One team checked surveillance footage, while another rushed to the Tang clinic. At the same time, a voice suddenly sounded in my head at the villa. The host refused to follow the usual trope, disrupting the predetermined development. Recovered luck, 30 points. Villain points increased by 800. Villain points threshold reached. Unlock the system lottery. I answered silently. Draw. Skill draw complete. Congratulations, host. 10 years of martial arts. I paused in surprise. People can really cultivate internal energy now. Absolutely, host. When the protagonist treats critically wounded patients, he relies on it to keep them alive. All right. The protagonist really is a walking cheat. I silently accepted the reward. The next moment, heat exploded from my abdomen and surged through every limb and bone. Reward claimed. Internal energy infusion received.
Physique plus 20.
Vitality plus 50. Essence plus 30. Oh, my whole body felt electrified. I clenched my fist, and my muscles pulsed. I was far stronger than before. Even better, my status panel had refreshed. The draw had cost 1,000 points, but this massive increase was an absolute bargain. At least I was no longer weak, right? I also had my poison arts. While enjoying the feeling, I suddenly remembered something important and pressed the call button on the wall. Feng, come here. The butler's full name was Feng De. He was in his early 50s, yet still walked with powerful strides. He usually lived in a small house out front and managed everything in the villa. Young master, what do you need? Within 2 minutes, Butler Feng appeared before me. I first glanced above his head. Loyalty, 91%, as expected of a servant loyal to 2 Qin generations. After confirming he was trustworthy, I got straight to the point and quickly filled a sheet of paper. Prepare everything on this list as soon as possible. Butler Feng took one look, and his face went pale. 2 packs of silver needles, centipede venom, scorpion venom, and powdered snake fangs. Young master, the acupuncture tools at the start seemed normal, but everything after that was deadly poison. Don't ask. I have my reasons. Understood. I'll handle it now. Butler Feng bowed and left, collapsed back onto the sofa. Those ingredients sounded terrifying, but to me they were ordinary supplies. I looked around the brightly lit mansion. With business done, I suddenly felt bored. Maybe I should find some entertainment. At the same time, blue police lights flashed outside the Tang residence. Lin Feng had just eaten and wanted to take a walk when Lu Ruoshi stepped from a car before him. His eyes instantly lit up. Seeing him stare at her, Lu Ruoshi's brows immediately tightened. He matched the photograph perfectly. She walked over with 2 officers. Name. Lin Feng grinned playfully. Beautiful officer. Are you asking me? Who else? Do you see another person here? His slick tone irritated Lu Ruashi even more. She did not know this was a classic hero introduction. My name is Lin Feng. What can I do for you, officer? Someone reported you for assault. Come with us for questioning. Lin Feng froze. What the hell? Before he could finish, the two officers closed in from both sides. Wait, officer. Is there some mistake? Sensing trouble, his expression instantly turned serious. Are you out of your mind? Don't you know what you've done? Come with us. Lu Ruashi gave him no chance to argue, and reached out to seize him. According to the original plot, this beautiful and capable policewoman was an important character who appeared much later. But Qin Tian's interference had scrambled the timeline and brought her to Lin Feng early. At this moment, Lin Feng had not yet built his network, formed connections, or made a name for himself. With no one backing him, he lacked the confidence to posture in front of the police. That was exactly why I could harvest so many villain points. Now detained in public, Lin Feng frowned deeply, his mind racing. A few seconds later, he dropped his resistance. No need to trouble yourselves, officers. I'll walk on my own. What? Lin Feng was arrested. Tang Deshuan nearly jumped from his chair at the news. Yes, Grandpa. Tang Shui quickly replied. I was about to go shopping when I saw a police car stop and take him away. How did this happen?
Tang Deshuan panic.
Xiaoxue, hurry. Come with me to the station. We leave now. Tang Shui thought he was overreacting, but after considering it, she nodded. News of Lu Ruashi taking Lin Feng spread instantly. Chief Zhengyang heard within minutes. To keep the situation under control, he immediately called the driver, Li Jun. I had been counting cracks in the ceiling from boredom, and became alert the moment I heard. Without another word, I called Li Jun, and sped straight to the police station. The Rolls-Royce door opened, and several junior officers hurried over to greet me. Good evening, Mr. Qin. Thank you for your hard work. I casually waved. The officers were stunned. Such a powerful tycoon. Yet he had no arrogance at all. This way, Mr. Qin. One officer recovered, and quickly led the way. Li Jun and I followed at an unhurried pace. So you admit it? You were the one who did it. Lin Feng grinned and shrugged. What difference would denying it make? I did it, so I'll own it. Lu Ruashi ground her teeth in anger. He had acted to save someone, but used an outrageously vicious amount of force, and still looked completely unconcerned. His careless attitude made her blood boil. Just then, I opened the interrogation room door and walked in on the scene. The instant my eyes landed on Lu Ruashi, my heart skipped. The policewoman had flawless fair skin, and a face delicate as a painting. Her figure was perfectly curved. She was absurdly beautiful among the other officers. More importantly, she was interrogating the protagonist. Damn, wasn't this the standard heroine template? I had accidentally made the protagonist meet another heroine. I had focused only on farming points through Tang Shui, and forgotten urban novels always include a police beauty. Had I known, I would not have called even for 10,000 points. System. Just how strong is this kid's destiny? I roared inwardly, scanning target. Name Lin Feng. Luck. 3,753. Confirmed as a chosen one. I was speechless. More than 3,700. I did not even have a fraction of that. Fine. I completely surrender. When Lu Ruashi saw me walk in, she and her colleague immediately stood up straight. You must be Mr. Qin, right? Yes, that's me. I had no interest in Lin Feng, and turned directly toward Lu Ruashi. Officer Lu. You know why I'm here, don't you? I understand. Lu Ruashi replied. Mr. Qin. Could we speak somewhere private? Of course. Seeing me agree readily, Lu Ruashi relaxed slightly. then led me into an office. I made myself comfortable, pulled out a chair and sat opposite her. Mr. Qin. Regarding this morning's incident, we have mostly clarified what happened. It began when your son, Lu Ruoshi, explained everything they had learned. That's roughly what happened. Mr. Qin, how do you think this should be handled? Lu Ruoshi secretly glanced at me, as if testing my attitude. The room remained silent for a long moment, before I slowly spoke. Your findings match what I learned. Don't watch my expression. Handle it according to the law. I'm a law-abiding person. I only want justice. Lu Ruoshi was surprised by those words. After all, the incident was not that serious. And with your influence in Xiaoming City, you could suppress it with ease. With that in mind, Lu Ruoshi said, in my experience, the best option is for both sides to sit down and talk. If it can be settled privately, that would save everyone trouble. I smiled at her words and laughed. Officer Lu, tell me, how exactly should we settle this? Should an elder like me calmly discuss compensation with a junior? Lu Ruoshi froze. Right? His wealth was piled like mountains. Why would he care about Lin Feng's compensation? Enough. Don't trouble yourself over it. I stood up. My lawyer will handle this matter. Seeing Lu Ruoshi at a loss, I simply rose to leave. The thought of someone like Lin Feng spending a few days inside was rather entertaining. We'll leave it there. I have other matters, so I won't stay. Thank you for your help today. I extended my hand, speaking very politely. And no problem. It's our duty. Lu Ruoshi looked dazed and instinctively shook my hand. At that instant, her hand felt cool and soft. How strange. Watching you truly leave the station with your driver. Lu Ruoshi looked completely puzzled. Since he knew Lin Feng had been arrested, shouldn't he have immediately used connections to apply pressure? Why come here personally? Inside the interrogation room, Lin Feng had prepared to confront you head-on, but you arrived without even looking at him. At that moment, Lin Feng nearly choked on his own breath. One day, I'll make every Qin kneel and beg me. A man hated nothing more than being ignored. This completely ignited his fury. You had not yet left the station, when an ordinary Buick slowly stopped nearby. Two people stepped out, and you recognized one of them. Well, young lady, we really are deeply fated. Even meeting outside a police station, instead of getting into the car, you smiled and walked toward them. Mr. Qin.
Hachez-le.
Tang Shui's face changed when she saw you. Her face changed instantly, and she began to stammer. What? Do I look like a ghost to you? You narrowed your eyes, your tone teasing. I am Tang Deshuan. Greetings, President Qin. Tang Shui was tongue-tied, while Tang Deshuan hurried forward with a flattering smile.
Tang Deshuan.
I chuckled. I know of you. A famous traditional doctor in Xiaoming City. I hear your medical skills are remarkable. You flatter me, President Qin. Tang Deshuan quickly lowered his head. It isn't flattery. I've long heard of your reputation. By the way, what brings you here, sir? You were obviously asking what you already knew. But the question tightened the old man's chest. He did not believe you were unaware that Lin Feng was connected to him. In other words, you were testing his position. Tang Deshuan had lived a long life and understood social maneuvering perfectly. He immediately realized it and quickly said, Mr. Qin, I sincerely apologize. I only learned tonight that young Lin had a conflict with your son. Young Lin just arrived in Xiaoming City and knows no one here. It is understandable that he acted impulsively. Please be magnanimous and spare him this once. Tang Deshuan was indeed a shrewd man. His words carried several meanings. First, he said he only learned tonight, distancing himself from the incident and denying that he had warned Lin Feng. Then he said Lin Feng had just arrived, implying they were not close, only old acquaintances. Though he came to plead for mercy, he deliberately sounded humble, as if submitting. He drew a clear boundary, without offending either side. 3 gains with 1 move. I smiled.
Elder Tang.
I don't understand what you mean. I, Qin Tian, am merely an honest businessman. My son was beaten, so all I could do was call the police. You ask me to show mercy, but as a law-abiding citizen, what power do I have over official matters? Still, you need not worry. Whoever is wrong will bear the consequences. My son started this incident. I won't falsely accuse anyone, or take my anger out on others. As for the dispute between my son and Lin Feng, I trust the police will handle it fairly. Wouldn't you agree? Tang Deshuan had no words to answer. Seeing that, I waved and continued. All right. I have other business. Please take your time. You nodded to him, then turned and entered the Rolls-Royce. Your movements were crisp, leaving no room for discussion. But no one saw the cold smile on your lips before the door closed. He wanted to turn a major matter into nothing. The old man was far too naive. I had finally put this fellow inside. How could I let him out so easily? Liun, call Deng Junchu. Put him in charge of this case. Find a way to send that kid to prison. Understood. President Qin. Although Li Jun was full of doubts, he could not understand why his boss insisted on using official procedure. The news soon reached Deng Junchu. After hearing the full story, he slapped his thigh and said Lin Feng was definitely going to jail. Qin Shiji was wrong to strike first, but Lin Feng's counterattack was far too brutal. The other man only threw 1 punch, and Lin Feng kicked him several meters away. Beating down the guards was not enough. He went over and deliberately crushed Qin Shiji's shin. That kind of finishing move, clearly meant to leave no way out. The evidence was plain, and every detail struck at the key issue. If he still could not send Lin Feng to prison, he should quit the profession. You arrived home at 9 that night. Before you could sit on the sofa, the doorbell suddenly rang. Then Butler Feng's voice came from outside. Young master, Miss Mu has arrived. I frowned slightly. Invite her in. Mu Dai stepped through the door, with brisk movements. She was Qin Tian's personal secretary. Her full name was Murong Dai, though everyone called her Mu Dai. Her black hair was tied in a bun, and she wore black-framed glasses, a white blouse with a black skirt, stockings and high heels. She moved with confident speed. President Qin. She stopped in the living room, speaking respectfully. I looked her over and gave a faint acknowledgement. See, after the original Qin Tian's wife left, he had several female companions, but Mu Dai was never among them. Was she not beautiful enough? Of course not. The key was that this woman could handle everything. The company could not function without her. No matter how reckless Qin Tian was, he would not seek brief pleasure and destroy such a vital pillar. President Qin. I'll brief you on tomorrow's schedule and recent work. I nodded. Today's executive meeting was postponed because of young master. It has been moved to 10 tomorrow morning. Also, President Su of the Su Group invited you to dinner at the Imperial Hotel tomorrow at 5 to discuss details of the Qin-Su partnership. Here is the schedule. Would you like to review it? She handed me a sheet of paper. I waved with a headache. No need. Arrange it as you see fit. Yes, President Qin. There is also a project file for the West City development. She continued reporting progress from the past few days, and did not leave until nearly an hour later. At last, I finished my first day as a transmigrated CEO. The next morning, I arrived at the company on time, ready to clean up the mess. Meanwhile, Lin Feng had spent the night at the station. When he heard he might go to prison, he was completely stunned. Deng Junchu arrived early that morning. and announced 2 charges: excessive self-defense and intentional injury. Together, they meant at least 2 or 3 years. Lin Feng's gaze turned cold, and he swore a blood feud against the Qin family. But hatred was one thing. Right now, he could not think of a way out. Young brother Lin, I am truly sorry. Tang Deshuan looked deeply guilty. This really isn't your fault. I failed to judge the situation clearly. Lin Feng spoke casually, though he was equally unhappy inside. The Qin family wants to put me in prison. Not a chance. As soon as he said it, his mind had already raced through several possibilities. Seeing his gaze shift, Tang Deshuan immediately added, Young brother Lin, whatever you ask. I, Tang Deshuan, will not refuse. Lin Feng came back to himself and smiled. There is one matter I need you to handle personally. Tang Deshuan raised his brows, slightly surprised. Before he could ask, Lin Feng removed a jade pendant from his neck. This item. Please deliver it to someone. Protagonist successfully prosecuted. Minor plot adjustment activated. Villain points plus 300. Recovered luck, 20 points. I glanced at the system alert and frowned slightly. Only 300. Calling the police earned 800. Yet using a lawyer gave me only this. I shook my head and stopped dwelling on it. These matters were not fully under my control anyway. I simply had to keep moving forward. At that moment, you were walking into the company. Beside your beautiful secretary Mu Dai, you strode ahead with a stern face, looking straight forward. Mu Dai carried a document bag beside you, continuously briefing you on today's meeting. While speaking, she secretly glanced at the man beside her. His posture was tall and straight. His face was fierce yet composed. Unlike any man she had met before, in her heart, he was the perfect man. Unfortunately, her family background was ordinary, far removed from a top billionaire like him. She could only bury those feelings in her heart, not even daring to dream about them. Hey, second brother, you're finally here. On the 88th floor of Qin Group headquarters, the elevator doors opened. A man in a suit stood outside the conference room, his hair slicked back and shining. He greeted me with a broad grin. The Qin family had 4 children, and all 4 were completely different. The eldest was Qin Zheng, who had served in the military for over a decade. He was quiet and disliked getting involved in business. He managed several luxury hotels, preferring a peaceful life. The third was Qin Wu, a man true to his name, who spent all day practicing martial arts. He had a fiery temper and owned gyms, martial halls, and nightclubs. The youngest sister was Qin Yu, a strong career woman with a master's from a foreign university. She managed all the family's female consumer brands and acted decisively. I was the second child, gifted in business from a young age. So the old master entrusted me with every core industry. Some might ask whether the other siblings felt jealous. But that was impossible. According to novel logic, villain families share one trait: absolute unity. Hit one member, and the whole family attacks. Hurt one, and the entire clan rages. That was not an exaggeration. It was simply standard. Why are you here? I came to give you an invitation. Qin Wu casually pulled out a gold-embossed card. I'm getting married in half a month. Second brother, you must attend. I planned to give it to you at the family dinner, but I was afraid you'd forget. Married. I froze slightly. So suddenly. How is that sudden? I'm already 38. How is marriage at my age rushing? Qin Wu grinned, without caring at all. Come on, second brother. You need to work harder too. His gaze shifted and landed on Mu Dai beside you. I'm waiting to drink at your wedding with Miss Mu. I froze on the spot, completely dumbfounded. Mu Dai's face instantly turned red. Even the tips of her ears seemed to smoke. Can you be serious for once? I recovered and glared at him. The man was nearly 40, yet still joked around all day. Qin Wu slapped the table laughing, thoroughly amused. After chatting a little longer, Qin Wu shoved the invitation into your hand, then left without even eating. Once Qin Wu was gone, Qin Group's executive meeting began. The conference table was packed with the company's key personnel. Seeing everyone quietly listening to me gave me a small sense of satisfaction. The meeting process was not complicated. One property was stuck awaiting approval. Another development needed more investment, and certain relationships needed attention, with the original owner's memories. And Mu Dai beside me filling any gaps. I handled everything smoothly. What I failed to notice was that after Qin Wu's earlier comment, throughout the meeting, Mu Dai occasionally peeked through her black-framed glasses at him. The three that afternoon, inside the Su family estate in Xiaoming City, family head Su Zhengyang stood in his villa's living room with a deep frown, staring at his father on the sofa in confusion. Dad, who owns this jade pendant? Is he truly worth it? Worth offending the Qin family for? Whether it's worth it is not for me to decide. Old Master Su slowly turned the pendant in his hand. Its shape was unusual and gave away nothing. His voice was low but unquestionable. This is a promise I made years ago. During those chaotic times, my enemies chased me into a dead end, and he saved my life. Even so, you cannot decide on your own that Yanran must marry some unknown young man.
Su Zhengyang sighed.
If Yanran finds out, she'll turn the whole house upside down, make a scene. What is there to complain about? The old master snorted. Becoming the fiancé of that man's disciple is her blessing. Others could beg and never receive such fortune. What right does she have to object? Grandpa. Dad, what are you talking about? A clear, pleasant voice suddenly sounded, breaking the argument. A figure in a pale blue dress walked in gracefully.
Su Yanran,
Su Zhengyang's only daughter, was 24 years old and stood about 5'5". Her straight black hair fell naturally over her shoulders, paired with her cold, flawless face. She was impossible to look away from. Yanran. Why are you here? Seeing Su Yanran at the door,
Su Zhengyang froze,
and his face grew warm. He and the old master had never mentioned this matter to her. I left a document here and came back to get it.
Su Yanran answered coolly,
Then turned toward her father. Dad, I heard something about a fiancé. Why did that sound so strange? Su Zhengyang became even more uncomfortable. His fingers rubbing his trouser seemed unconsciously. He could hide it for a while but not forever. Since she had heard, they might as well tell her. Old Master Su waved a hand, his tone firm. A childhood engagement with an icy beauty was a very old cliché, but following the usual formula. This cold female CEO would certainly reject it. Then the old master would bring the protagonist into her company. As a driver or personal bodyguard, the hero would save her repeatedly with his skills, and the Ice Queen would slowly melt. Sure enough, once Su Yanran heard, her temper exploded. I will not marry him. She grabbed the file and turned away, slamming the door behind her. Old Master Su sighed, while Su Zhengyang could only smile bitterly. But the old master was confident. Given enough time, his granddaughter would surely fall for the boy.
moody.
How much cash can the company move immediately? Discussing business over meals was normal for many people in Xia Nation, so the Qin and Su meeting had been scheduled by Mu Dai for 5 that afternoon, around 6 billion. I rubbed my chin and nodded. That will be enough. Do you need funds, President Qin? If so, I can arrange the transfer now. No, I was only asking. Prepare for the meeting later. For you now. Preserving the family business was enough. Why bother with other ventures? No business could bring money faster than exploiting the protagonist. At 5 that afternoon, I headed straight to the Imperial Hotel with Mu Dai. As soon as we arrived, a man in a suit hurried over to greet us. Greetings, President Qin. I'm the manager here. My surname is Gong. President Su is already waiting in the private room. Lead the way. After walking through the corridor, we soon reached the heaven-class private room. President Qin is here. Please come in. Hello, Uncle Qin. Well, isn't this little Yanran? I looked her over. My goodness. You've grown so tall. Come give me a hug. The words almost slipped from my mouth. Luckily, you reacted quickly and swallowed them back. Both families were among Qiuming City's wealthiest, so of course they knew each other. They were not especially close, but their relationship was not bad. The Su family's main business was appliance manufacturing, and they were well known in the industry. This partnership concerned a complicated parcel of land. The Su family did not enter real estate, and most of their capital was tied up in appliances. But they had the necessary connections. So the Qin and Su families planned to secure the land together. Then let the Qin family develop it. The Su family would invest no money, and only take dividends. Apart from drivers and guards, 3 members of the Su side attended. Su Zhengyang, his daughter Su Yanran, and a female secretary beside them. The first time I saw Su Yanran, I froze. The girl was flawless, stunningly beautiful, but her eyes were cold as a winter lake. She had the aura of a classic icy CEO. First there was a gentle young nurse, then a fiery policewoman, and now an ice-cold beauty appeared. Could she also be one of the heroines? Before a heroine's bond with the protagonist develops, her luck will not flow toward the villain. She appears no different from an ordinary person, so you cannot directly identify a heroine. You can only guess. Present Su Yanran looked highly likely, but you could not be absolutely certain. The 2 bosses exchanged polite greetings, while the actual details were discussed by Mu Dai and the secretary, Li Yutong. President Qin, I heard your son had a conflict yesterday and was hospitalized. Is that true? Before the food was touched, Su Zhengyang tested the waters. That's right. Something like that did happen. My son was at fault first, but the other party attacked far too viciously and caused serious injury. I cannot overlook that. I reported it to the police, and he's at the station now. Ding. Heroine Su Yanran's opinion of the host has changed. Villain points plus 100. Luck plus 10. I raised an eyebrow, wondering what was happening. I had only said a few words, and her impression had already changed. I instinctively glanced at Su Yanran, only to find her looking at you too. Their eyes met. Strangely, Su Yanran's face turned slightly red. Realizing something was wrong, she quickly spoke to ease the mood. Uncle Qin, people used to say you always protected your son and indulged him in everything. But after seeing you today, those rumors were clearly false. Haha. Little Su, you certainly know how to flatter. I laughed cheerfully. But what you said is not entirely accurate. Those rumors were not completely false. My expression turned serious. In earlier years, I focused only on my career and had no time to raise my child. More than half of Shiji's current temper was created by my indulgence, but I've reflected on it these past few years. From now on, I will discipline him strictly and never let him cause such trouble again. You spoke with complete sincerity, while silently wondering whether this would earn more villain points. Not only was Su Yanran surprised, even her father Su Zhengyang paused. Mu Dai, who had been speaking with the other secretary, also turned and looked at you. Ding. Heroine Su Yanran's opinion of the host successfully reversed. Villain points plus 300. Luck plus 20. Key figure Su Zhengyang's opinion of the host successfully reversed. Villain points plus 200. Luck plus 10. Villain points requirement reached. Lottery draw available. Draw now. It really worked. Wait, Su Zhengyang counts too. What kind of identity does he have? My heart jolted. Seeing the words key figure in the system, everything suddenly became clear. Anyone who could help Lin Feng in the original plot was probably a key figure. For people like that, changing their opinion of me would feed resources back to me. I nearly pounded the table in regret. I should have pressured Tang Dixuan more. Ability draw successful. Combat skill, maximum level. You had long wanted a way to strengthen yourself. The moment you saw combat skill, you did not hesitate, and confirmed it immediately. After receiving maximum level combat skills, a flood of knowledge entered your mind. The current you was far stronger than when you only accumulated internal energy. President Qin, what life lesson have you discovered lately? We haven't met in so long, yet your entire presence has changed. Su Zhengyang accepted the wine served by the waiter, and personally poured you a glass of Romanicanti. I raised my hand and accepted it, without refusing. The two of us took a small sip, and chatted casually over the wine. Once all the dishes were served, Su Zhengyang set down his fork and changed his tone. To be honest, President Qin, besides discussing our partnership today, I have a small request, and would like your help. The moment he said that, I already knew what was coming. Just say it. I hate people beating around the bush.
Su Zhengyang paused in surprise.
Since you're so direct, I won't hide it. To tell the truth, that Lin Feng who fought with your son yesterday has some connection to the Su family. He secretly watched your expression. Seeing no major reaction, he continued, could you perhaps ease off and stop pursuing the matter so the boy can avoid prison? So he truly came for Lin Feng. The system reward had already indicated that Su Zhengyang was a key figure, but I never expected him to protect Lin Feng by personally lowering himself before me. Lin Feng had only been in Xiaoming for a few days, yet had already climbed onto the Su family's great tree. That was protagonist fate for you. Wherever he went, someone supported him. His luck was absurdly strong. The old Qin Tian might have been led along by those words. You pretended to consider it before slowly speaking.
Honestly, President Su,
I didn't know that kid had such a strong background, or any connection to the Su family. My son did start yesterday's incident. I only wanted him to suffer and learn a lesson. But Lin Feng went too far, so I had no choice but to use the law.
Su Zhengyang looked startled.
Then, what do you mean? Since President Su has asked so sincerely, refusing would embarrass you. Forget compensation. I don't need that little money. Have him come apologize to me personally, and we'll consider the matter closed. Does that work for you, President Su? Su Zhengyang was instantly delighted, and hurriedly agreed. Based on what he knew of you before, you would either demand an enormous payment, or fiercely protect your son, and break relations on the spot. Either way, the Qin and Su families would become enemies. But who could have imagined that now only an apology was required? Who would reject such an offer? Yet Su Zhengyang had no idea. The matter was far less simple than it appeared. For one thing, making Lin Feng lower his head and admit fault was nearly an impossible task. When had a novel protagonist ever apologized to a villain? If the hero were that submissive, the fans would reject him first. Overjoyed, Su Zhengyang immediately made a call. Go to the station and bring Lin Feng here. Tell him the matter is settled. You acted just as decisively, turning to call Li Jun, and telling him to notify Deng Junchu to stop the case. Withdraw. At your single command, Deng Junchu immediately ended the investigation. Officer Lu Ruoshi could finally breathe again. She had feared the Qin family would refuse to let go, which would give the investigators endless headaches. Outside the station, Lin Feng slowly walked through the gate, looking completely relaxed. TSK. That jade pendant the old man gave me was useful. The Qin family isn't much after all. Let's go. President Su is waiting at the Imperial Hotel. The driver reminded him coldly. All right. Coming. Lin Feng replied with a grin. Before leaving, he looked back at the station. He regretted missing the chance to show off before Lu Ruoxi. That he had not shown off before Lu Ruoxi. But that no longer mattered. Meeting his fiancée was the priority. Half an hour later at the Imperial Hotel, everyone had already eaten and drunk their fill, and was chatting casually in the air conditioning. The driver led Lin Feng into the room. The moment he entered, his eyes quickly swept around. Every beautiful woman was present. But when his gaze reached Su Yanran, he immediately knew the answer. He truly never expected such a beautiful woman to be his fiancée. Damn, that face was no less beautiful than Murong Dai beside Qin Tian. Coming down the mountain this time was worth it. You are Lin Feng. Seeing him enter, Su Zhengyang immediately assumed an elder's authority. Lin Feng lowered his head slightly and behaved properly.
Greetings, Uncle Su.
Seeing that the boy recognized him and understood manners, Su Zhengyang nodded with satisfaction. He pointed at an empty seat. Sit down. Lin Feng did not refuse and dropped into the chair. Before anything else, let me introduce you. This is President Qin. You should have met. We have. Of course we have. Lin Feng's lips curved, with a trace of mockery. If his blind idiot son hadn't caused trouble, would I have been locked in a station? The moment those words left his mouth, everyone except you changed expression, including Su Yanran and Mu Dai. Was this man mentally deficient? He called Qin Tian's son useless before two tycoons. That was not only slapping Qin Tian's face, but Su Zhengyang's as well. Su Zhengyang glanced at you and saw that you had not become angry. He quickly put on a stern face to repair the situation. Lin Feng, do you know what nonsense you're saying? Lin Feng sensed the atmosphere was wrong, but refused to change his words.
Uncle Su.
Of course I know what I said. His son harassed a woman in public and tried to hit me. He acted lawless because he had bodyguards. If I hadn't reacted quickly, I'd be the one in the hospital. Before you could speak, Su Zhengyang slapped the table and stood. You are completely lawless. Young Master Qin is not someone you can criticize. Now, go apologize to President Qin immediately. Otherwise I, Su Zhengyang, will tear away all courtesy today, and no one will leave this cleanly. Seeing Lin Feng's arrogant manner,
Su Yanran frowned,
and her heart sank. She could not help secretly glancing at you. Compared with the reckless Lin Feng, Uncle Qin looked composed even in silence. Steady and dependable. That was a man who could control the room. Lin Feng looked at Qin Tian with disdain. I'm sorry.
Uncle Su.
I owe you a favor for this, but asking me to bow and admit fault is impossible. His words were hard and absolute, leaving no room to negotiate. You damned bastard. You're utterly lawless. I never should have begged President Qin to spare you. Su Zhengyang's voice trembled with rage, and he even began cursing. Lin Feng frowned at once.
Uncle Su.
You never should have lowered yourself to beg him. With my abilities, helping your family swallow the Qin family would be easy. Before Su Zhengyang could answer, his head suddenly spun, and he fell stiffly backward. Dad, what's wrong? Su Yanran, who was closest, reacted first. Even you, who had been watching the show, froze. With no time to think, you rushed over and helped catch him. Lin Feng saw Su Zhengyang collapse but did not panic. Instead, a light flashed in his eyes. His chance had arrived. As long as he cured the man, Every earlier problem could be erased. The protagonist's fortune was that unnatural. The more desperate the situation, the greater his comeback. As the bodyguards moved to carry him to a hospital, Lin Feng suddenly spoke. Wait, let me examine him first. Su Yanran turned and saw him, her voice cold as ice. Guards, drag him out. I don't want to see his face again. The two guards moved immediately, closing in from both sides. Seeing the situation turn against him, Lin Feng quickly shouted, I'm a doctor. Uncle Su is suffering an acute attack. If we don't act now, he'll be dead before reaching the hospital. The moment Lin Feng said that,
Su Yanran froze.
Her father's collapse was partly Lin Feng's fault, and she was already sick of him. But his words were not unreasonable. The nearest hospital was at least 15 minutes away. If they encountered traffic, they might not arrive for half an hour. Lin Feng sounded so certain, and did not look like he was lying. Su Yanran began to waver. Just as she was about to agree, a steady voice sounded beside her. Little Su. Don't trust him. Su Yanran raised her head sharply, and found you ordering the guards to lay Su Zhengyang flat. One hand rested on his pulse, without even lifting your brows. Your father collapsed because he angered him, and now you want him to treat the man. Besides, he barely looks 20. What kind of doctor could he be? Su Yanran immediately came to her senses. But Uncle Qin, we cannot simply wait. You waved a hand, while keeping your fingers on Su Zhengyang's wrist. Don't worry. I'm here. You bent down and checked his breathing, then unbuttoned Su Zhengyang's shirt. Lin Feng erupted in rage, and shouted, Qin Tian, you're using this chance for revenge. If you delay his treatment, you'll be a murderer. This was his only chance to reverse everything, and someone had cut it off. How could he not panic? Shut up. You barked. With no time to deal with him, after confirming the heartbeat was weak, you quickly laid the man flat, and began chest compressions. Everyone stared in disbelief. The mighty President Qin actually knew first aid. Even Lin Feng, who was grinding his teeth and ready to curse, froze when he saw the movements. The technique was perfectly standard. The rhythm, force, and position were all flawless. Even he could not have done better. Everyone step back. Don't crowd so closely. Give him air. Qin Tian ordered while continuing compressions, his tone allowing no argument. Quickly. Everyone move back. Su Yanran had no time to think, and quickly obeyed. She stood beside them with clenched fists, her heart rising and falling with each compression. Fortunately, she did not wait long. With your true energy secretly assisting, Su Zhengyang's body suddenly jerked, and a faint pulse returned to his chest. Su Yanran cried out in joy, Uncle Qin, my father's heartbeat is back. Qin Tian nodded and pressed several more times, before stopping and standing. Your father already had a hidden heart condition. His emotions surged and his breath caught. He is stable now. Carry him to the sofa to rest. Seeing her father's condition return to normal, Su Yanran turned to you gratefully. Thank you, Uncle Qin. I never knew you could do this. That was incredible. You smiled faintly, then stood and rolled your wrists and shoulders. A minor skill. Nothing worth mentioning. At that moment, Murong Dai quietly approached and offered a tissue. President Qin, wipe your sweat. You took it and wiped your forehead, then looked around in confusion. Where did that Lin Feng kid go? The system sounded again. Congratulations, host, for saving a key figure before the protagonist. Villain points plus 1,500. Recovered luck, 500 points. Villain points threshold reached. System ability draw unlocked. Use now. There was no reason to save a draw, so you selected it immediately. Draw successful. Choose one of two options. 1. Master-level piano performance. Maximum proficiency. 2. Elite-level dancing. Maximum sense of rhythm. These two abilities were honestly rather useless. Piano and dancing were both useless. I had no use for either, so you casually chose the more impressive piano skill. It might help you show off later. Dad. Wake up, Dad. About a minute later, Su Zhengyang, carried onto the sofa by several guards, slowly opened his eyes. He was still confused when he woke. What happened to me, Dad? You suddenly lost consciousness. Uncle Qin brought you back.
Su Yanran hurriedly explained.
As his memories slowly returned, Su Zhengyang stared at you in growing astonishment. He was eventually sent to the hospital. Although he had recovered, his status made everyone cautious. A full examination would bring peace of mind. His daughter Su Yanran naturally went with him. Before leaving, she found you and quietly apologized. After all, they had begged for Lin Feng's release, but she did not know you were already delighted. From that single incident, you had gained a day's worth of villain points and luck. Su Zhengyang also decided on the spot to give up 10% of the project's profit as thanks. Do not underestimate that 10%. With the resources both families could mobilize, the project's net profit would exceed 5 billion. 10% meant at least 500 million. The only irritating part was that Lin Feng had disappeared. You planned to use the Su family to teach him a lesson, but the plan failed, leaving you rather annoyed. Still, you understood that dealing with a chosen one had to be done slowly. Meanwhile, Lin Feng truly had run away. He saw that he had caused a major disaster and personally witnessed your perfectly executed cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So he immediately sensed danger. But after escaping, the more he thought, the stranger it felt. The events of the past 2 days replayed in his mind, and something always seemed wrong, especially you. Your actions followed no common logic. His path through the Su family was now completely blocked, and the Tang family likely was not much better. He had to change his identity and disappear from the Qin family's sight. Only then would he have a chance to turn things around. Once he made up his mind, Lin Feng knew what to do. Hey kid, hand over your money. While he was thinking, 2 yellow-haired thugs suddenly blocked his path. Each held a gleaming dagger, clearly intending no good. You picked the perfect person to provoke. The next second, screams echoed through the alley. Meanwhile, inside the Rolls-Royce, Murong Dai secretly watched her boss Qin Tian resting with closed eyes, and her hidden feelings grew stronger. Today had truly opened her eyes. Other wealthy men counted money, played golf, and socialized. But her boss even knew textbook first aid. And while performing CPR on Su Zhengyang, the focus on his face nearly stopped her heart.
Liun.
Play some music. Let's relax. You suddenly spoke, startling Murong Dai into pulling back her gaze and pretending to watch outside. Music began to play, and you closed your eyes again. Your mind was moving rapidly. From Su Zhengyang's reaction, you could tell Lin Feng had no direct connection to him. The true connection was the Su family's old master,
Su Guofu.
In other words, as long as the old master protected Lin Feng, the Su family would not trouble him over this. This kid was difficult to handle, you muttered. Lin Feng had now hidden in the shadows. He was in the dark, while you stood in the light. That situation was unacceptable. You opened your eyes and spoke again.
Liun.
When we return, arrange several people to find Lin Feng's whereabouts. Remember, do not get too close, and absolutely do not attack. Report the moment you learn anything. Then you frowned and added, Li Jun, what song is this? Change it, change it. Perhaps because you had just gained master-level piano skill, your ears had become more demanding.
Liun looked confused.
You asked me to change the song. but the car only has 2 or 3 saved. You never listen to music, so I picked one randomly.
Murongdi asked curiously.
President Qin, do you feel like listening to music? Not particularly. The road just felt too quiet.
Murongdi immediately understood.
I can search on my phone and connect it through Bluetooth. Then you can hear anything you like. Qin Tian's eyes lit up as something came to mind. Fine. Play 1,000 Reasons to be Sad. This ride is too dull otherwise. It was an old song from many years ago, but exactly to your taste.
Murongdi looked confused.
The title sounded made up. She searched for a long time, but could not find the song. President Qin, I can't find it. Perhaps you remembered the title incorrectly. Your brows shifted as you sensed something wrong. Then search for Jackie Chung. Jackie Chung. Is that a singer? Although puzzled, Murongdi did as instructed, but still found nothing. Qin Tian's face darkened slightly. He took the pink phone from Murongdi and began typing quickly. You entered every name of the 4 heavenly kings from your old life. Finally, you slowly leaned back and sighed. Now you completely understood. You had been reborn into a parallel universe. The broad shape of the world was similar, but many famous singers and actors never existed. You waved tiredly. Forget it. No more music. This is exhausting. Even the 4 heavenly kings and Jaicho were gone. What the hell was left to hear? Without the classic songs you once heard and hummed. Your chest felt strangely blocked. But old Master Su was even more frantic. The moment he heard his own son had fainted after Lin Feng enraged him. He ordered a car and rushed to the hospital. He entered and demanded the entire story, without wasting a moment. You really proposed that condition to Qin Tian? Su Zhengyang answered weakly from the bed. Everything had been going well. Qin Tian agreed without hesitation. But who knew that Lin Feng kid would suddenly appear and insult his son right in front of him? As an elder, could I pretend nothing happened? And this is the result. He sighed out the frustration in his chest, clenching and releasing his fists, afraid he would become angry again. Old Master Su's eyes brightened slightly, as if realizing something. From what you describe, Lin Feng really resembles his master when he was young. Su Zhengyang's eyes nearly popped out. Old man, did someone damage your mind? Is your memory slowly disappearing? Capable people often have unusual tempers. That is normal. The old master continued calmly to himself. He was willing to defend a stranger, so he has a warm heart. He dared lecture Qin Tian's son before his eyes, so he has a strong backbone. Only such a man deserves Yanran. Dad, wake up.
Su Zhengyang stared in disbelief.
He felt he should not be the one in the hospital bed. It should be that foolish old man. Had you heard the old man's words, you would probably only shrug and think it was perfectly normal. After all, an ordinary mortal could never resist the manipulation of heavenly luck. The next morning, you arrived at the company early, sitting behind your desk and slowly spinning a pen, while your thoughts drifted far away. You still did not know why you came to this world. More importantly, you spent every day planning how to stop the protagonist, and had delayed all the pleasures you should enjoy. The thought annoyed you, so you immediately called Li Jun. Still no sign of Lin Feng. You clearly remembered that Lin Feng's luck was around 3,200, while yours was only a little above 700. The gap was enormous. At this rate, he might crush you one day. When Li Jun reported no progress, you immediately gave him 2 ideas. Have them check hotel and police station cameras. Also watch parks, bars, and karaoke clubs. Pay special attention to those places. Protagonists love wandering around them. In parks, they meet mysterious elders and gain opportunities. In bars and clubs, they either rescue someone or fight. All the plot erupts there. Anyone who watched my videos knew that by heart. Li Jun did not understand why those places mattered. But an order was an order, so he would carry it out. After hanging up, you narrowed your eyes and planned the next step. According to reports, Lin Feng had indeed left the Tang family, but the old man had probably given him money. Otherwise, at the beginning of his journey, how could he afford to live comfortably? Since the Tang family loved playing saints. Why should I be polite? You picked up the phone again and called a special number. President Qin. What can I do for you? A sweet female voice answered. You went straight to the point. I need someone. An unfamiliar face. Combat ability doesn't matter. But they must be skilled at disguises. 1 million a month. That amount was nothing to you. So you agreed immediately, the moment the million arrived, before the owner of that strange account could react. The Tang family's fate was already sealed. At 6 that evening, inside the Grand Mount Li Villa. Young master, the items you requested have arrived. Butler Feng lowered his head. Speaking respectfully, 2 maids stood behind him, each pushing a small cart, both packed full. There were only 2 sets of silver needles. Everything else was bottles and jars covered in labels, in every color, as if an entire pharmacy had been moved there. You acknowledged him. Clear out a room downstairs. Store these things there from now on. After they finished, you stood alone in the empty living room, feeling deeply bored. You had decisively blocked all the original owner's messy lovers. If you wanted a date now, you had to choose among women met after transmigration, preferably one with a heroine's fate. She could relieve your boredom and make you stronger, but only 3 possible heroines were connected to you.
Nus Tang Su, Polisemnan Liu Rusi,
And icy CEO Su Yanran. You had barely spoken to any of them. Approaching them carelessly could ruin everything. As for Murong Dai, she probably was not a heroine, and had been working overtime every day, so it was better not to bother her. You scrolled through your contacts for a long time, but found no suitable person, so you changed into ordinary clothes, and went out alone for some air. Meanwhile, inside the Blue Shell Bar's security room, a young man in a guard uniform sat with crossed legs, lazily watching the screens. Every movement in the bar passed beneath his eyes, but when he saw a woman sitting in a corner, his entire body stiffened.
Su Yanran.
What is she doing here? Another guard approached cheerfully from behind, and sat beside him, greeting him familiarly. Brother Feng, what are you watching? You're completely absorbed. The man's name was Tong Hai, and he had worked here for 5 or 6 years. Lin Feng answered casually. Nothing. Just learning the environment. After a pause, he asked, Brother Hai, you've been around here a long time. Do you know the man drinking at table 7? He pointed to the man who had just approached Su Yanran. You mean Zhou Kai? Tong Hai glanced at the screen. He's a minor gang leader. What? Did he provoke you? Nothing like that. Lin Feng replied vaguely. Honestly, the protagonist's luck was truly incredible. Even he never expected the 2 street thugs he casually beat last night to be Brother Bao's men. When Brother Bao heard someone attacked his people, he immediately arrived and issued a challenge, directly arranging a one-on-one fight. But an old injury suddenly flared in Bao, leaving him limping. Lin Feng recognized the problem at a glance and cured him in just a few moves. Brother Bao regarded him as a miracle worker and immediately made him head of security. Of course, Lin Feng did not care about the position. He had heard that Third Master Jin was chronically ill. If he could cure that major figure, he would gain the power to contend with you. But Third Master Jin was currently outside Xiaoming, so Brother Bao placed him at Blue Shell Bar as temporary head of security. When he saw Zhou Kai pestering Su Yanran, Lin Feng instinctively felt it would not end there, which was why he asked. But he completely failed to notice that in a booth on the other side of the bar, sat a man he wanted to skin alive, watching Su Yanran sitting quietly in the distance. Your eyes brightened. Why was she here? The original owner once met a flight attendant in this bar. Bored out of your mind, you came to see if anyone caught your eye, and perhaps stay all night. Unexpectedly, you ran into Su Yanran, a cold female CEO, sitting alone in a bar late at night. You knew this plot perfectly. When a single heroine appears in such a place, several thugs will harass her within 10 minutes. Then the male lead arrives, saves her, shows off, and wins favor. Su Yanran was sitting there alone. Could Lin Feng also be nearby? The corner of your mouth rose in a meaningful smile. The result matched your prediction perfectly. After waiting only 2.5 minutes, several shady men approached her. You also noticed Su Yanran's glass shaking badly. Clearly, she had already drunk too much. You instantly knew your chance had come. At Su Yanran's table, a large, dark-skinned man grinned at her. Beauty, do us a favor and have a drink with the brothers. Get lost. Though Su Yanran's head felt heavy, her temper remained unchanged. The large man was not angry. Instead, he laughed. I like that attitude. He winked at his companion. The yellow-haired man immediately understood and offered Su Yanran a cocktail. Listen carefully, girl. My name is Wang Wu. I'm the top figure around here. Everyone knows my name. I've taken a liking to you tonight. You have 2 choices. Come with me, or drink this glass. Then I, Wang Wu, will immediately. Before he could finish, Su Yanran grabbed the glass and drained it, then slammed it onto the table. She repeated one word. Leave. Her boldness even stunned Wang Wu. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect you to be so straightforward. Wang Wu changed his tone. But I had not finished. What I meant was, after drinking that, you belong to me. He approached with a sinister smile. Since you agreed so quickly, come with me now. I'll be gentle with you later. He reached toward Su Yanran's shoulder. She instantly sobered for a moment. Realizing she had met a scoundrel, she struggled to stand. But alcohol had flooded her body. The moment she pushed herself up, her vision went black, and she fell back into the chair. The hand drew closer, while her body could not move. It's over. Her heart went cold. When the hand was less than 4 inches away, suddenly froze. Then a calm voice sounded. Trash like you is not worthy of touching her. What the hell? Where did you come from? You dare stop me? Wang Wu jerked his arm and cursed as he prepared to strike. But before he finished speaking, his wrist was caught like iron pincers, and his whole body froze. It felt as if the tendons at his pulse had been crushed. The piercing pain nearly made him jump. You stared coldly at Wang Wu, with a strange smile. Unless you want your family line to end, you should get out immediately. Wang Wu finally pulled his wrist free. Fine. You're ruthless. I'll let you have this woman tonight. Don't let me see you again. He fled without looking back. Su Yanran took a long time to react, and her voice trembled.
Uns Qin.
Why are you here so late? And why did you drink this much? You frowned at her, your voice slightly reproachful and helpless. Even Su Yanran herself found the situation absurd. Normally, she was not someone who lost control. She did not know what happened tonight. Whatever she thought, you had no desire to investigate, because the system sounded again. Congratulations, host, for rescuing Su Yanran first. Villain points plus 500. Recovered luck, 100. Received maximum level hidden weapon mastery. Now that was a useful skill. If you ever faced the protagonist directly, you would at least be able to touch him. Then you looked at your luck, now raised to 800, and could not help sighing. Life was looking more hopeful. Su Yanran lowered her head, wanting to explain but unable to speak. She clearly had something on her mind. You did not pressure her. and offered to take her home. Su Yanran tried to stand by herself, but collapsed back into the chair. You sighed with secret delight. Well, I suppose I'll support you. Throughout her entire life, Su Yanran had never been so close to a man. But you were her elder, so perhaps it was fine. Then, thank you, Uncle Qin. No need to be polite with Uncle. Let's go. Without hesitation, you placed Su Yanran's arm over your shoulder, while wrapping the other arm around her slim waist. First close contact with heroine Su Yanran achieved. Villain points plus 300. Recovered luck, 100. Hearing the pleasant system voice, your lips curved upward, and you felt extremely satisfied. Su Yanran's waist was perfectly slim, soft yet firm, and felt excellent. The two of you had just left the bar, before reaching the corner, when your brows tightened. More than 20 young thugs, holding steel pipes and baseball bats, blocked your path in a large group. Li Jun and 2 plainclothes guards had followed you outside, and quickly surrounded you protectively. President Qin. Leave quickly. Don't worry about us. They were skilled. But the enemy had too many people, and all carried weapons. Fighting would put them at a severe disadvantage. Escaping first was the obvious choice. You looked down at the woman in your arms, then simply lifted Su Yanran off the ground. Although your combat skill was maxed, personally fighting was beneath your status. Well, you even brought bodyguards. Wang Wu stared at Li Jun and the others, and sneered. You really know how to pretend. Friend, do you really want to fight?
Li Yun asked coldly.
It had been years since he saw thugs this blind. Who the hell is your friend? Wang Wu raised a hand. Brothers. Attack. Cripple every man. Don't touch the woman. The thugs roared and charged with iron bars. Li Jun and the 2 guards reacted instantly, snapping open their batons. One guarded the rear. One provided cover, while Li Jun cleared a path and escorted you back, seeing you nearly break through while carrying her. Wang Wu panicked. Send several men after the guy holding the woman. Don't let him escape. Several thugs surrounding the guards split away and rushed straight toward you.
Li Yun's heart sank.
These fools even knew to target the principal. He surged forward and drove one enemy back, trying to turn and save you, but just after one kick, 2 more men filled the gap. He could only shout for you to be careful. Then a dull impact sounded, and a thug swinging a steel pipe flew backward. What the hell? What happened? Before anyone recovered, another explosive impact rang out. A second attacker flew sideways, like a perfectly staged action scene. The entire area fell silent. Li Jun seized the chance to look back, and his mind crashed. His supposedly frail President Qin was holding a beauty in both arms, while retracting 1 foot. Clearly, those 2 men had been kicked away by President Qin. Being blocked by these people had already filled you with anger. Su Yanran was asleep, hanging limply in your arms, making every movement cumbersome. This was ridiculous. Were they forcing me to be ruthless? Then you saw one of the original owner's lovers in the distance, with Tang Shui and several other women beside her. You raised a hand and shouted. Qiu Xiaoman, stop staring. Come help watch her. Qiu Xiaoman had recently been upset because you blocked her, but since you gave 1 million as breakup compensation, she was still willing to obey. She quickly pulled Tang Shui over. Sorry. You'll have to lie down for a moment. Unable to wait for them to arrive, you gently laid Su Yanran flat on the ground, rolled your shoulders and loosened your limbs, then charged directly into the crowd. A succession of screams immediately followed. Qiu Xiaoman and Tang Shui stared in shock while supporting Su Yanran. So handsome. Seriously, so handsome. Shock, admiration, racing hearts, and confusion mixed together. What woman did not like a man who could earn money and also protect her. At that moment, you had exactly that combination. Arm locks, knee strikes, elbows, spinning kicks. Every move flowed as if rehearsed 100 times. Without the slightest pause. It was already past 11 at night, and the bar was packed. Seeing such a blockbuster fight, everyone rushed outside to watch eagerly. Only Lin Feng stood in a corner, his expression changing repeatedly. How is this possible? Qin Tian can actually fight this well. A wealthy tycoon who knows medicine and can fight for his life. Why does he sound like another version of me? Brother Feng, are we going to act? Tong Hai stamped his feet anxiously. Things are this chaotic outside. If we don't appear, and Brother Bao blames us later, who can bear that responsibility? Lin Feng slowly exhaled. Fine, you handle it. I'm not going. The moment Lin Feng agreed, Tong Hai called several brothers and rushed out. The chaos outside was nearly over. Seeing his men knocked down one by one, Wang Wu immediately turned to flee. Trying to leave. Your gaze turned cold. You picked up a pebble and threw it. It struck Wang Wu's ankle as if guided. His foot slipped, and he crashed heavily to the ground. Liun. Go. Bring him back. Your voice was quiet, but filled with coldness. At the command, Li Jun grabbed Wang Wu by the collar and dragged him before you, then kicked behind his knee, already dazed by the pebble strike. Wang Wu's knees immediately buckled, and he dropped to the ground. Damn it! You dare touch me! I work for Master Hu. You kicked him directly in the face. Master Hu. What kind of thing is that? You sneered coldly. Go tell your Master Hu to investigate exactly who I am. He has 3 days to apologize at my door, or your entire gang no longer needs to exist. Of course, if you cannot discover who I am, that makes things even easier. You do not deserve to exist at all. Do you understand? Every word came through clenched teeth. Why, yes, I understand. I'll tell him. Wang Wu's mouth was full of blood, and hatred filled his heart. Make Master Hu apologize. Who do you think you are? But trapped under another's roof, he had no choice but to bow. He could only submit for now. But how could you let him off so easily? To carry a message. All he needed was a mouth. Liun. Cripple all 4 limbs. What? Wang Wu jerked his head up, his eyes nearly splitting wide. Against street thugs like this,
Liun never hesitated.
a sharp crack sounded, and Wang Wu's pig-like scream filled the street. Just as Wang Wu was handled, the bar's guards finally rushed out in panic. You ignored those useless guards, and turned toward Li Jun and the other 2. How are you? Are you hurt? We're fine. The 2 bodyguards endured the pain as they answered. You saw their clothes covered in dust and stained with blood. They had been cut twice yet claimed to be fine. You turned and said, Liun. Give each of them 100,000. Take them to the hospital for proper treatment. If it isn't enough, ask me for more. Hearing this, Li Jun was surprised. Why did the boss feel like a different person? Whenever this happened before, didn't he immediately curse them as incompetent? When had he begun caring about subordinates? But Li Jun did not dwell on it. The current boss suited him far better. You ignored their thoughts and continued speaking to Li Jun. Take them to the hospital. I'll send Miss Su home first. Li Jun was about to protest that you needed protection, but seeing the thugs scattered on the ground, he swallowed the words. He turned and went to the parking lot, then drove the 2 guards to the hospital. You hurried toward Su Yanran. President Qin. Her forehead is burning. Qiu Xiaoman said anxiously when she saw you. You frowned slightly and touched Su Yanran's forehead. She truly had a severe fever. Tang Shui blushed and said,
Checkt her pels.
It seems she was drugged with an aphrodisiac. Clearly, the drink Wang Wu gave her had been tampered with. You sneered inwardly. Had you not come tonight, Lin Feng might have received an enormous benefit. First saving the beauty, then discovering the drug. Even the first night plot was perfectly arranged. You stopped thinking about it and drove Su Yanran toward the hospital. Inside the Porsche, Su Yanran was barely conscious. So hot. It's too hot. The heat was unbearable, and her clothes naturally began slipping. You watched the road ahead, while glancing toward the passenger seat. Honestly, the scene before you would be explosive. To any normal man's mind, another man might have lost control already. For you, it was also an opportunity delivered to your door. But the system had warned. Ordinary women were your own business. These heroines were different. Their fates were entangled with the male lead, and you could not act with confused intentions. Touching them required two conditions. First, she must be fully conscious. Second, there can be no coercion. Otherwise, the consequences would be severe. Su Yanran had consumed a drug drink and was at her weakest. But what would happen afterward? You were not the protagonist and had no magical aura that made a woman fall in love after one night. What if Su Yanran woke tomorrow and discovered someone had taken advantage of her? Then the protagonist's halo influenced her, and she accused him of assault. He would become a textbook cannon fodder villain, the kind trampled beneath the protagonist, with no chance to recover. You sighed at the thought, your tone regretful. It's a shame. But tonight I'll remain an honest man. You floored the accelerator and headed straight for your villa. The claim that someone must have sex after taking such drugs, or they will die, was complete nonsense. Reality was not that absurd. The drug would indeed cause suffering, but if she endured it, the effect would fade naturally after several hours. At worst, she would suffer for a while. Soon you reached the Mountley villa. When you carried the limp Su Yanran from the car, she clung tightly to your body, constantly rubbing her lips against your face and kissing your neck without stopping. You could not avoid her, so you forced yourself to carry her into the bathroom, turned the cold water fully on, and placed her directly in the tub. Icy water poured over her head. Su Yanran's body shuddered, and her mind finally cleared slightly. Her memories were badly fragmented. She only vaguely recalled meeting thugs and nearly being harmed, before Uncle Qin saved her. Then an image suddenly flashed, and Su Yanran woke with a start. She hurriedly looked around. The room was huge and bright, decorated in a European style, with gold-trimmed designs on the ceiling. Clearly, it was extremely expensive, but she had never seen this place. Looking down at herself, she found a thick bathrobe wrapped around her, properly secured, without exposing anything. But this was not her home. Her heart tightened, and she quickly opened the robe to check. The next second, she froze. Her undergarments were gone. Her legs weakened, and she collapsed onto the floor. But then she sensed something strange. Although her head was dizzy, her body felt no unusual discomfort. There was no pain at all. None of the aftermath described online. Confusion filled her. She tied the belt and rushed outside. The entire villa was brightly lit, yet not a person was visible. Only when she reached the ground floor did that familiar figure appear. You were wearing a robe, sitting cross-legged on the sofa and using your phone.
Qin.
Hearing movement, you looked up. You're awake. Su Yanran's heart skipped. Why am I here? Do you remember what happened? You put down your phone and pointed at the sofa beside you. After Su Yanran obediently sat down, she first nodded lightly, then shook her head. She remembered part of the beginning, but after that, her mind felt covered in fog, and nothing was clear. It seemed she had once tightly embraced Qin Tian. The moment that thought surfaced, her face instantly turned crimson. Could she really have done that with Qin Tian? Su Yanran abruptly stopped the thought. Not daring to continue. You instantly saw the turmoil in her heart. You don't remember some things clearly, do you? Don't panic. I'll explain everything. A man named Wang Wu gave you a glass of wine. Do you remember?
Su Yanran nodded.
You continued. He put something in that drink. I took you away and planned to send you home. But the drug acted too quickly, and you could not last that long. If your family or a doctor learned of this, the rumors would be unpleasant. So I brought you to my home instead. Hearing your explanation, Su Yanran tried to remember. It seemed that was indeed what happened. Then, what happened to my clothes? To suppress the drug, I had you soak in cold water. Your clothes became completely wet. You continued calmly, but to prevent you catching cold, I had a maid dry your hair and body, then change you into a bathrobe. My clothes were changed by the maid. Su Yanran seized on that point. You shrugged. Did you think I removed them myself? Su Yanran became embarrassed, because she vaguely remembered, clinging to Qin Tian and kissing him fiercely. Now she did not dare look at you directly. Seeing her awkwardness, you waved casually. It's already late. If Uncle Qin doesn't mind, may I stay here tonight? After confirming nothing serious had happened,
Su Yanran finally relaxed
and spoke much more easily. I don't mind. The question is whether you fear gossip. You glanced at her and discovered you could now see her status. Her favorability had already reached 62%. According to the system, once these heroines developed favor toward the villain, he could view their detailed information. When an ordinary person's trust reaches 90%, they become completely loyal. But once a heroine's favorability exceeds 90%, you can ignore the protagonist's luck. The Mountley villa had many rooms, so you casually chose one for her, and added, the maid will bring your clothes after washing and drying them. Your thoughtful arrangement made Su Yanran's imagination wander. She slowly walked to the bed and looked down. The quilt and sheets were completely new, clearly just replaced. He even thought of this. For the first time, she understood a mature man's attentiveness. Uncle Qin was not only handsome, but considerate in every detail. He was naturally attractive to women, as she thought. That image suddenly returned. Your sharply defined face, strong body, powerful arms, and reassuring masculine presence, all circled endlessly in her mind. Could this be the feeling of love? Su Yanran shook her head violently. How could I like him?
Impossible.
I'm only 4 years older than his son. But he really is handsome, gentle and dependable. Being held by him must feel incredibly safe. But he is my elder. I cannot think like this. Fine. The angel and devil in her mind began arguing. As the argument continued, sleepiness washed over her. Perhaps the alcohol had not faded. Or perhaps your impression on her was too deep. When she woke the next morning, her robe seemed slightly damp. She quickly carried it into the bathroom. That morning, you stared at the robe hanging outside in confusion. There were clearly servants in the house. What was this girl doing? And she gave me 200 villain points first thing. What exactly did she do? Unable to understand, you shook your head and left. Meanwhile, inside a private room at Blue Shell Bar, brother who rolled iron balls in his hand and glared at the footage. When he recognized the Su family's daughter, he wanted to stuff his troublesome subordinate back into the womb. Now they had offended both the Qin and Su families. The bald man anxiously rubbed his gold chain. Prepare the car. I will personally visit and apologize. Back at the Su estate, the young heiress repeatedly watched the video of her rescue. Seeing you protect her despite your disheveled state, she suddenly smiled, revealing small dimples. So even a domineering CEO loosens his tie in a fight. Her fingertip unconsciously brushed your profile on the screen. Then she realized what she was doing, and threw the tablet onto the sofa in embarrassment. Su Yanran, have you gone crazy? But her reddened ears had already revealed her thoughts. President Qin. The police are here to see you. Inside the top-floor office of Qin Tower, you had just arranged surveillance on Lin Feng and raised an eyebrow. Let Attorney Deng handle it. You casually spun your pen. A minor matter like this did not require your presence. The power of capital was fully displayed. For the same street fight, the protagonist had to sit in jail, while the villain remained free. That was the irony of reality. After ending the call, you stared at the city model in thought. Crushing that luck-blessed cockroach required multiple approaches. You had to steal his opportunities, win over the heroines, and strengthen your own forces. System. Where exactly is the line for coercion? The pen spun into a blur around your fingers. As long as you use no physical force, business methods are unrestricted. The mechanical voice gave an ambiguous answer. While you planned underhanded tactics, a WeChat alert suddenly sounded. An avatar named Deng Yuqing flashed. President Qin. May I invite you for coffee? She was the woman with Tang Shui and the others last night. Seeing this, an idea immediately formed. Although she was not a heroine, she could still serve as a useful pawn. 2 o'clock.
Mingxi Cafe.
Your brief reply sent the sales office reception into an uproar. Deng Yuqing's fingers trembled with excitement, and she hurriedly booked the city's most expensive cafe. As she imagined life among the wealthy, a harsh ringtone shattered the dream. Seeing Wang Hao's name instantly changed her face. Will you ever stop? She snapped into the phone. Completely unlike her sweet voice moments ago, a weak plea came from the other end. Xiaoqing. My mother was hospitalized 2 days ago. She needs 30,000 for surgery. I scraped together only 10,000. Could you lend me another 20,000? 20,000. Do you think I own a bank? Before he could finish, Deng Yuqing exploded. Then she remembered her colleagues nearby. Her face reddened, and she walked to the end of the corridor. Wang Hao, have you lost your mind? In the year we've dated, how much have you spent on me? Did you ever rush to pay for dinner? Did you ever buy the movie tickets? And now, you ask for 20,000 the moment you call.
I'm sorry, Xiaoqing.
I only came to you because I have no other choice. We're still together. Can't you help for that reason? His voice grew quieter, as if all the air had drained from him. Deng Yuqing sneered. Together. We only held hands a few times and you call that dating. Xiaoqing. What do you mean? Wang Hao froze, and his tone changed. What do I mean? You know perfectly well. We're finished. Did you hear me? Wang Hao was completely stunned. Xiaoqing. Is money more important than me? You're breaking up with me, just so you don't have to lend money. Yes, yes, money matters. I'm breaking up because I don't want to lend it. The more she spoke, the angrier she became. I earned this by running myself ragged selling homes, working through sun and wind. You ask and I should simply lend it. You earn barely anything each month. Writing those web novels. How would you ever repay me? But my mother truly cannot hold on. I also... Nobats. Deng Yuqing took a deep breath and lowered her voice. Wang Hao. We have no future. I don't want to squeeze onto the subway and eat takeout forever, or live in a tiny room without even a balcony. That is not the life I want. The other end fell silent. After a long time, Wang Hao slowly spoke. Xiaoqing, are you determined to break up? Deng Yuqing had wanted this for a long time, but feared hurting his pride. She planned to grow distant until he proposed it. But the man buried himself in writing every day, living entirely in his fictional world, and never noticed her distance. Deng Yuqing closed her eyes, said, "We're breaking up," and ended the call. She released a long breath, and her lips rose unconsciously. Right? She still had coffee with President Qin this afternoon. At the thought, her mood instantly brightened. At that moment outside Central Hospital, a young man sat collapsed on the steps, clutching his phone tightly, with only one thought in his mind. It's over. His mother was ill and needed money. He had contacted every relative, apart from a close friend who gave 10,000. Everyone else pretended not to hear. Even family could not be trusted. He had already accepted it, but never expected his girlfriend to be so heartless. You clearly have money, yet refuse to save my mother. What? He growled quietly, his voice trembling. Deng Yuqing, remember this. When I rise one day, you will regret what you did today. Suddenly, his head became heavy. Before he could react, his vision went black, and he collapsed. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Hao slowly opened his eyes and found himself in a hospital bed. He was confused, but when he turned his head, he felt something new inside his mind. It was as if a huge bookshelf had appeared, packed tightly with novels. What is happening? Wang Hao was completely bewildered. He pulled out the first book and opened to page 1. This is a world ruled by battle energy. There is no magic. Only battle energy cultivated to its peak. That single sentence hooked Wang Hao. He immediately continued. 30 years east of the river, 30 years west. Never look down on a poor young man. The premise was fresh, and the story extremely exciting. The more he read, the more absorbed he became, and the more excited he grew. This is what a novel should be, and the protagonist's experience is somewhat like mine. Meanwhile, his close friend Chen Shikai, who gave 10,000, was bringing fruit to the hospital. When passing Mingshi Cafe, he suddenly spotted a familiar back. Deng Yuqing. What is she doing here? Fatty Chen froze. Then his mind buzzed. He immediately called Wang Hao. Wang Hao, I just saw Deng Yuqing enter Mingshi Cafe. At a place like that, one cup costs several hundred. Her salary is nothing special. Where did she get that spare money? Wang Hao's mind turned, and he immediately understood. But then he remembered they had just broken up. Fatty Chun froze when he heard, then slowly said, How? Breaking up is a serious matter. Shouldn't you discuss it face to face? What does ending it by phone even mean? And from the look of this, she probably found someone else before dumping you. Can you really swallow that insult? What else can I do? Wang Hao's voice rose. Of course he felt miserable. Deng Yuqing was someone he had loved. If he could truly let her go, he would not dream daily of making her regret it after he succeeded. In my opinion, if she really hooked up with another man, forget being gentlemanly. Confront her. Even if it gets ugly, demand the truth face to face. Wang Hao hesitated. Going there to argue with her felt like lowering himself and losing dignity. But remembering how she dumped him with such cold decisiveness, he clenched his teeth. Fine. Wait for me. I'm coming now. Meanwhile, inside Mingshi Cafe, you arrived with Li Jun and 4 bodyguards. Deng Yuqing spotted you immediately and raised her hand. President Qin. Over here. You look beautiful today. You smiled as soon as you sat down. Deng Yuqing beamed, glad her careful preparation had not been wasted. You truly know how to compliment someone. Thank you, President Qin. You paid no attention and went straight to the point. I dislike beating around the bush, so I'll speak plainly. Yesterday was our first meeting. We cannot say we're close, because we aren't, nor can we call ourselves friends. That would be a stretch. Under those circumstances, you invited me, either to discuss cooperation or to become closer personally. Given your situation, you clearly did not come for business. So the answer is obviously the latter. Deng Yuqing's face turned crimson, and she stammered without forming a sentence. You can state exactly what you want. Since I came, I came with that intention. Deng Yuqing finally gathered her courage and revealed her purpose. President Qin, could you give me a chance? She feared that unless she spoke honestly, the opportunity would slip away. You smiled. Admitting what you want already makes you better than coy gold diggers. You want to be with me? No problem. But I have 3 rules. If you accept them, we can leave together now. First, from this moment, you cannot become close to other men. Not only dating. Even so-called confidants or best male friends are forbidden. Second, I will not marry you, and I will not belong only to you. Third, only I may contact you. You may not contact me first. My meaning is simple. Those are the rules. You spoke directly, laying out every thought. Of course. Since you will accompany me for a time, I will not let your effort go unrewarded. I won't be stingy with money. Choose whatever you want to eat, wear, or use. Even if we separate one day, I will give you a large payment, enough to live comfortably for a while. If you doubt me, you can ask your friend, Qiu Xiaoman. Xiaoman was with you too. Deng Yuqing froze, then found it completely reasonable. Who would openly tell others about such a relationship? You have 2 minutes to decide. After 2 minutes, I want a clear answer. To President Qin, will you look down on me? Deng Yuqing bit her lip. Without answering directly, she knew how she appeared now. Most people would see it as shameful and degrading. But your answer surprised her. No, people live to pursue the life that satisfies them. So-called public judgment mostly comes from people lacking self-awareness. You are different. You are beautiful and have an excellent figure. You have the advantages to choose a better life. Why would I look down on you? Deng Yuqing almost thought she heard incorrectly. For the first time, someone described being a mistress with such calm openness, as though it were neither dirty nor shameful. Do you think I need to invent pretty lies to please you? You glanced sideways at her, your tone slightly mocking. Coaxing women is work for idle men. Qin Tian. Never do anything so pointless. About 20 minutes later, you stood, paid, and prepared to leave. The moment you stepped outside, Deng Yuqing quietly linked her arm through yours, because she truly found no reason to refuse. President Qin, where are we going next? Your lips curved. First, we'll buy clothes. What you're wearing looks good. But if you're standing beside me, looking good alone is not enough. The moment you said this, Deng Yuqing's heart sped up. Was this what it felt like to secure a wealthy man? 1 sentence, and the card was immediately swiped. No wonder so many women preferred being mistresses to spending a lifetime with a poor man. She remembered Wang Hao choosing stalls under 10 yuan, even when treating her to hot and sour noodles, and felt a sting in her heart. Then a sudden shout pulled her back, as 2 dark figures rushed from the corner. Before they could approach you, 2 men in black beside you stopped them. Deng Yuqing looked carefully. Wang Hao. Why are you here? You ask why I'm here. Deng Yuqing. I truly misjudged you. Wang Hao glared viciously at you, his words sharp. Fatty Chun stared at your imposing arrival from the luxury car, his eyes almost bulging. You broke up with me this morning and joined another man this afternoon. What an innocent young woman you are. Deng Yuqing angrily prepared to answer, but suppressed her emotions, wanting to explain the situation to you first. Before she could speak, you raised a hand to stop her. You have 5 minutes. Then you no longer looked at them and entered the luxury car under guard. Wang Hao and Fatty Chun never expected that reaction. They had come to make a scene and expose Deng Yuqing before you and embarrass her. But you did not respond at all, or even blink twice. Wang Hao, instead of caring for your mother, why did you come here to interfere, seeing you had already entered the car? Deng Yuqing quickly seized the chance to speak. Wang Hao's anger flared instantly. Deng Yuqing. If you met someone after we broke up, I would say nothing. But what is this now? You found a new man before we were even officially over. Do you think that's something to be proud of? You weren't like this before. Wang Hao lowered his tone, showing deep disappointment, and his voice softened. You know, wealthy men are never short of women. He may treat you well now, but one day he may get bored and throw you away. What are you gaining? Even if he does dump me, it would still be better than wasting my life with you. Deng Yuqing could no longer endure it, and interrupted directly. Wang Hao. Stop lying to yourself. President Qin is handsome, wealthy, and capable. What's wrong with being with him? Even if he abandons me one day, that will still be my choice. It's better than spending my life with you, unable to afford a proper meal. You need 20,000 for your mother's treatment, right? Fine. I'll transfer it now. She pulled out her phone and swiped a finger. 20,000 instantly entered Wang Hao's account. Then she held the successful transfer screen before him. This is breakup compensation. From me to you. She said one word at a time, pointing from herself to Wang Hao. It was rare for a woman to throw money at a man. From now on we're even, and have nothing to do with each other. That's it. Let's end this. She turned without looking back, and walked toward your luxury car. But at that moment, the system suddenly sounded in your mind. Ding. Successfully stole the protagonist's ex-girlfriend. The plot direction has begun to change.
Vilain point plus 300.
Villain points threshold for a skill draw reached. Draw now. Not yet. You only intended to use Deng Yuqing as a pawn, to solve the issue involving Tang Shui, and never expected to gain another benefit. Wang Hao was clearly Deng Yuqing's ex-boyfriend. You saw that immediately, yet the system said you stole the protagonist's ex-girlfriend. In other words, Wang Hao was another protagonist in this story, and the role you occupied now was that of a rich heir trampled by the protagonist. System. Scan him. As Deng Yuqing walked toward you, you locked onto Wang Hao from the corner of your eye. Scan complete. Name Wang Hao. Luck 72. Target's luck is currently rising. Current value cannot be precisely measured. Seeing only 72 luck. You nearly thought your eyes were wrong. But when the small line beneath appeared, you immediately understood. This fellow had probably just bound to a protagonist system, and his fate had not fully awakened, so his comeback had not begun. More importantly, this world actually had more than one protagonist. You clicked your tongue inwardly. Although the villain points were limited, you had at least found a new lead. Sorry, President Qin. I kept you waiting. You glanced at Wang Hao still frozen there, and no longer bothered with him, telling Li Jun to drive away. That fellow standing there just now. Was he your boyfriend? Oh, President Qin. We only ate together a few times, and watched one movie. At most we held hands, listening to Deng Yuqing explain repeatedly. You chuckled. Don't panic. I only asked casually. Even if something truly happened between you, I would not care. Let's choose several outfits first. Deng Yuqing quickly nodded. A grassroots comeback hero like Wang Hao was far easier to handle than an all-powerful cheat. So you were not worried. Xiaoman. Have you already been with President Qin? While you rested with closed eyes, Deng Yuqing secretly messaged her best friend. How did you learn about that? Never mind how I know. I only want to know how much breakup money he gave you. Fine. But you absolutely cannot tell anyone. If you spread it around, we will never speak again. I swear. I won't tell a third person. 1 million. Besides giving me many gifts, he gave me another million when we separated. Seeing the number 1 million, Deng Yuqing froze. She never imagined the wealthy could spend so generously. At her current salary, it would take nearly 10 years without spending anything. After seeing that number, she felt completely reassured. She chatted briefly with Cho Xiaoman, then quickly put her phone away. After all, she had to serve her wealthy patron well. By the way, how did you meet Tang Shui? You suddenly asked from the back seat. Deng Yuqing quickly answered. Her colleague and I are from the same hometown. We went out together several times and became familiar. What do you do now? And what is your relationship with Cho Xiaoman? I run a small street stall in the city. Xiaoman and I were college classmates, and we've always been close. Deng Yuqing answered openly. You nodded and asked no more. Because by ordinary plot logic, the protagonist's ex-girlfriend becomes a stepping stone when he rises. That meant Deng Yuqing, this pawn, could not only be useful against Lin Feng, but might also pull this second protagonist into the game with him.